Finally, I was able to make this. The reason my rating for Reverend Insanity went from a 9.5 to a 9.9. I was amazed by its merge with reality's truths and beliefs, but why not just a 10 out of 10? Well, it isn't perfect. Only The Brothers Karamazov is a perfect piece. What am I speaking of? I speak of symbolism. The symbolism of Reverend Insanity hits different from others. We shall begin with the Sovereign Immortal Fetus Gu. It looks like a unique name to Reverend Insanity, right? But its birth and function symbolizes a great lot of esoteric knowledge from our reality. The alchemical magnum opus, the crucible of the flesh. The creation of the Sovereign Immortal Fetus Gu by the Spectral Soul Demon Venerable is a masterclass in the darkest echelons of spiritual alchemy. To forge it required a century of millennia, the orchestration of the Shadow sect, and the ritualistic sacrifice of the 10 extreme physiques at the Yitian mountain battlefield. In Hermetic traditions, this mirrors the creation of the Lapis Philosophorum, the Philosopher's Stone. More specifically, it represents the Rebis, the divine hermaphrodite, or the two thing, the end product of the alchemical magnum opus. Just as the Rebis is forged through the putrefaction, nigredo, and purification of base matter to resolve all philosophical conflict, the Sovereign Immortal Fetus Gu was birthed from absolute death, the 10 extreme immortal zombie lifeless formation. Spectral Soul transmuted the ultimate stagnation, death, and zombiehood into the ultimate vitality, a pristine, living vessel. It is a pure human path creation, the transubstantiation of cosmic suffering, blood, and soul-rending agony into divine, unblemished perfection. The defiance of heaven's mandate, Wuji, and the harmonization of Dao. In the cosmology of the Gu world, the supreme law of heaven's will is balance and restriction. Dao marks are inherently conflictual by design. Fire suppresses water, time distorts space, light eradicates dark. This friction is the very mechanism by which fate maintains its hegemony over living beings, ensuring no entity grows beyond the parameters set by the cosmic order. The true, terrifying gravitas of the Sovereign Immortal Body lies in its defining trait, non-conflicting Dao marks. By permitting a singular vessel to cultivate every path simultaneously, without internal suppression or self-destruction, the Sovereign Immortal Fetus Gu shatters the foundational physics of its universe. It is the physical manifestation of Wuji, the limitless, returning to the primordial one, long before the universe segregated into conflicting elements. It spits in the face of heavenly determinism. For an otherworldly demon like Fang Yuan to eventually inhabit this body is the ultimate realization of the Nietzschean Übermensch, a being who completely severs the chains of the extant moral and physical order to forge a new reality, predicated entirely upon his own sovereign will, the tabula rasa, the grandness of the fetus. We must dwell on the symbolic grandness of the nomenclature itself. It is not the sovereign immortal weapon or the sovereign immortal crown. It is a fetus. To be a fetus is to exist in a state of pure, terrifying potential. It is the tabula rasa, the blank slate. Every native of the Gu world is born tethered to the strings of fate Gu, burdened by the original sin of their predetermined path and the limitations of their natural aperture. A fetus, conceptually, represents rebirth, stripped of all prior karmic debts. By entering the fetus, Fang Yuan is not just empowered, he is ontologically rebooted. He sheds his mortal, flawed shell, a shell governed by the heavens, and is reborn as an entity that does not exist in the annals of fate. He becomes a walking anomaly, an error in the world's source code, wrapped in the flesh of a newborn god. The grand usurpation and the Ouroboros of karma. Finally, the grandest symbolic stroke of the Sovereign Immortal Fetus Gu is not found in its creation, but in its theft. Spectral Soul Demon Venerable, the progenitor of slaughter who spent 100,000 years weaving a conspiracy across time itself, succeeded in refining it. Yet, at the very precipice of his eternal triumph, the fruit of his immense labor was plucked by Fang Yuan in a singular moment of transcendent opportunism. This act is the cosmic Ouroboros incarnate. Heaven's will manipulated Fang Yuan, sending him back in time using spring-autumn cicadas specifically to foil Spectral Soul's resurrection. Yet, in doing so, Heaven's will handed the ultimate weapon to the only variable capable of destroying Fate Gu itself. Spectral Soul's endless slaughter bred the instrument of his own undoing, and Heaven's will's desperate attempt to maintain control engineered its own absolute demise. The snake swallowed its own tail, and from its maw emerged a true sovereign. The Sovereign Immortal Fetus Gu is therefore the nexus of the novel's entire philosophy. It is the supreme artifact of existential rebellion. It dictates a brutal but profound truth. True sovereignty is never granted by the heavens, nor is it given by right. It is forged in the crucible of absolute ruthlessness, and it is taken by the hands of the truly free. Now, from a Taoist point of view, Neidan versus Neidan, the ultimate internal alchemy. In historical Taoism, alchemy is split into two distinct disciplines: Neidan, external alchemy, and Neidan, internal alchemy. At 99% Reverend Insanity, Gu refinement operates strictly on the principles of Neidan. A Gu master acts as the external alchemist, using a physical cauldron, earthly materials, and primeval essence to forge a tool, the Gu. The Gu remains an external object, a vessel of the Great Dao manipulated by the user. The Sovereign Immortal Fetus Gu, however, is the apex of Neidan, internal alchemy. In Neidan, there is no external crucible. The practitioner's own body and spirit become the cauldron. The goal is to cultivate the three treasures Jing, essence, body, Qi, energy, and Shen, spirit, to gestate the Xiantai, the immortal fetus, or spiritual embryo. Spectral Soul Demon Venerable turned the entire Yitian Mountain battlefield into a macrocosmic Neidan crucible. By sacrificing the 10 extreme physiques, he gathered the absolute peak of human Jing, Qi, and Shen. When Fang Yuan occupies the Gu, he is not equipping a tool. He is achieving the ultimate Neidan apotheosis. He sheds his mortal shell and merges completely with the Xiantai, becoming the literal embodiment of the Great Dao, the shattering of Taiji, and the return to Wuji. To understand the sheer existential terror the sovereign body inflicts upon Heaven's will, we must look at Taoist cosmogenesis. The Gu world operates on the principle of Taiji, the supreme ultimate. Taiji is the realm of duality, where yin and yang separate and interact. In the Gu world, this translates directly to the conflict of Dao marks. Fire melts ice, time rots wood, light eradicates darkness. Heaven's will enforces this friction. This is how it maintains balance, restricting any single entity from achieving supreme dominance. Taiji is a cage of eternal, systemic conflict. The Sovereign Immortal Body shatters this cage, because its Dao marks do not conflict. In Taoism, the state before Taiji is Wuji, the limitless, or without pole. Wuji is the primordial void, infinite in potential, because it has not yet been divided into conflicting forces. By possessing a body where every single path can be cultivated simultaneously without suppression, Fang Yuan regresses his physical existence backward from Taiji into Wuji. He becomes a microcosm of the universe, before the Big Bang or whatnot. Heaven's will cannot control him, because Heaven's will governs Taiji, the established laws of balance, whereas the sovereign body exists in the unwritten, boundless state of Wuji. To truly grasp this cosmological regression from Heaven's cage of duality back to limitless potential, this is a visual model of the Wuji to Taiji cycle. Key insight: The tragedy and triumph of the Gu is that it required the ultimate extreme of Taiji, the horrific slaughter of millions of conflicting Dao marks and souls, to birth a singular drop of pure Wuji. The manifestation of the Zhenren, the true person. This brings us to the profound philosophical endpoint, echoing the existential and Machiavellian depths we appreciate. In the Zhuangzi, a foundational Taoist text, the highest ideal is the Zhenren, the true person. The Zhenren is entirely unconstrained by worldly morality, societal expectations, or the natural restrictions of life and death. They flow perfectly with their own internal nature, untethered by external forces. Before the Sovereign Immortal Fetus Gu, Fang Yuan had the mind of a Zhenren, but he was trapped in a flawed vessel governed by fate. The Sovereign Body aligns his physical reality with his metaphysical will. Stripped of the original sin of a predetermined aptitude, like his previous C-grade aperture, and freed from the friction of conflicting Dao marks, he becomes the literal, unadulterated Zhenren. It is the grandest symbol of radical self-determination in all of literature. A man who carves out his own cosmos, because the one provided by heaven was simply too small for his ambition.